Back here on NFL Live, in an impossibly deep NFC West, Arizona has 1 playoff appearance and 0 playoff wins since 2015. Kyler Murray was limited to just 5 starts in 2025. Cardinals GM Monty Ossenfort talked about the team's plan under center.
I'd say all options are on the table for us, okay? We got Kyler, Jacoby, Keaton, all under contract. As it pertains to that position, as it pertains to every position on our team, I think those discussions go on daily. I've always had a good dialogue with Kyler, and I'd say it wasn't up to what Kyler wanted. It wasn't up to what any of us wanted as a season as a whole. And so when you had the kind of year that we had, there's a lot of room for improvement.
After those comments, our Josh Weinfuss reporting this. A source said Kyler Murray and Cardinals GM Monty Ossenfort haven't talked this offseason, refuting what Ossenfort said earlier at this Combine press conference. Murray's off a career-low 47 QBR in just 5 games played last season. Let's get the boys back in. Graz, start with you. Ossenfort also said internal discussions are happening daily in Glendale. When does this team need to make a decision on Kyler's future?
Sometime within the next 16 days, because he's already guaranteed $36.8 million this year. But if he's still on the roster on the 3rd day of the league year, which is March 14th, then $19.5 million of his 2027 salary becomes fully guaranteed. And if you aren't sure about this guy as the quarterback of your future, you certainly don't want to be committing money beyond this year if you don't have to. So the Cardinals, they hope to be able to trade him. They probably would have to pay a chunk of the salary in order to get a deal done. But if they can't, I think the odds are that he gets released by that 3rd day of the league year.
Yeah, it's a good assumption. And Mike LaFleur comes in, coach. He's been saying all the right things, too, saying he's open to all the possibilities and obviously open dialogue on Kyler. Truth of the matter is, here's where Monty Ossenfort needs to make his money as a general manager. Can you land this plane? Can you get something for Kyler Murray? Because I don't think Michael Bidwill is spending $40 million and eating $40 million to see him play elsewhere after the start of the league new year. Dan's got the numbers right. He's got the timing right. Is can you get a trade? Even if it's a 6th or 5th or 4th round pick, can you find a trade? Because that would mean someone else is going to take at least a portion of this salary. Fascinating decision here for the Cardinals because, like we said, there's not a real number 2 quarterback in this draft. So, yeah, you have the 3rd overall pick, but you're not taking Ty Simpson 3rd overall. You're not taking Drew Aller 3rd overall. And there's not that dazzling free agent quarterback, maybe outside of Malik Willis, that you're going to go and spend the money on. Can you trade Kyler Murray? Can you get someone else to eat some of that cost? Monty Ossenfort, we don't make money necessarily in November and December as a general manager. You make your money here, and this is what the job is. Can you land the plane?
Boog, teams might not be interested at $40 million, but if the Cardinals took some of that burden, whatever the roster gymnastics might be, Graz mentioned Minnesota as a possible fit. Who makes sense to pursue Kyler as a realistic landing spot for that plane?
I mean, realistically, I don't think anybody's going to trade for Kyler Murray. I think he's gotten to a point right now where when you look at him as a 5'10" maybe quarterback who struggled throwing from the pocket, yeah, he's athletic, but he's been hurt. I just think the market for Kyler Murray to go to another team is going to be small. It's clear that the Arizona Cardinals don't want Kyler Murray anymore. And so asking Monty Ossenfort to go into his David Copperfield hat and pull something out, I know he's good. I don't think he can do magic. And so to ask him to go into that hat and pull out a 3rd or 4th or 5th round pick, I don't know if you can give Kyler Murray away right now. I just think Kyler Murray's in a situation based on everything that's happening in Arizona, based on the injury, based on the homework clause, all the things that you put together. I think it's going to be tough for him to find a spot to play as a starting quarterback in 2026.
Let's get to some more QB questions around the league, maybe not as complicated as making the Statue of Liberty disappear. Graz, what are you hearing about Tua's future in Miami?
Well, the Arizona Cardinals look at this and say, wow, I'm glad I'm not in their situation financially. Tua Tagovailoa is guaranteed $54 million this year, whether he's on the Dolphins or not. So everything we just said about Arizona and the difficulty that they'll have trying to trade Kyler Murray applies probably a little bit more even to Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins would probably have to pay down a good chunk of that money. How much of that they're willing to pay and how much a team is willing to give them in return remains to be seen. Tua Tagovailoa, a cut candidate if they can't find a trade partner.
And it's amazing. We continue to ask teams to help us with our mistakes. Arizona and Miami clearly made a mistake with Kyler Murray and Tua giving them these long-term deals. But we're asking, hey, will you come help me? I'll pay you to take this mistake away from me. I don't think it's going to happen. I think ultimately they're going to have to eat this money, very similar to how the Denver Broncos ate it with Russell Wilson. Denver was fine. Arizona will be fine, and Miami will be fine at some point. But if I'm another team, I'm not helping you fix your mistake. You shouldn't have paid Tua. You shouldn't have paid Kyler Murray. Now you got to deal with it.
And that quote on screen from new GM John Eric Sullivan saying at the Combine, quote, everything else is on the table, including the potential of a trade. It feels like it's likely heading toward an off-ramp. Speaking with local media at the Combine this week, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni called A.J. Brown, quote, a great player, a good teammate, a good person, but could not guarantee Brown will be an Eagle next season. Here's Sirianni and GM Howie Roseman on Brown's status.
He has meant so much to our football team these past 4 years. And like I said, I've always said I've never hidden my relationship with him. And we're at a point that, we want to keep good players around. Always excited to have him on the football team and look forward to continuing that relationship. I know I want to continue that relationship. I know he wants to continue that relationship, and excited about that.
AJ's been a great player for us. Not a good player, a great player for us. He does have tremendous character, and so I think from our perspective, we're looking to add to our roster. We're not looking to subtract. And so, I've been really consistent in saying that.
Since 2019, when Brown entered the league, 4 players have 6 seasons with at least 1,000 receiving yards. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs. And Brown's gone over 1,000 in all 4 seasons with Philly, the only Eagle ever with 4 1,000-yard seasons. Somebody familiar with Brown from time together in Nashville, current Patriots coach Mike Vrabel, who talked about Brown pretty openly today.
It has meant a lot. I've watched him grow. I've watched him mature. I'm proud of him. Proud of the father that he is. I'm proud of the husband, and that has nothing to do with where he plays and where he played. So those are the things that are important. We reach out and text each other during the things that happen good to each other, and sometimes things don't go so well for the people that you're close with, and you text those as well. So it's a two-way street of support and reminders of what got us to where we are here today.
Graz, you're on the ins and outs of a lot of these transactions. What do you think about the potential of A.J. Brown in Foxborough?
I think it's unlikely. Look, I mean, we had Saquon Barkley on NFL Live late last week, and he told us in no uncertain terms A.J. Brown is a Patriots fan. He had been on a Patriots podcast with Gronk and Edelman and had some comments about that. But talking to people around here, it doesn't sound like the Eagles feel any kind of compulsion to get A.J. Brown out of their building or that they feel any real desire to get A.J. Brown out of their building. That said, it's the Eagles. It's Howie Roseman. If somebody calls, he picks up the phone, and they'll assess any potential trade for its overall value. They believe they would have to get an awful lot in return to justify moving on from A.J. Brown, who, as Howie said, excellent player for them, has helped them win a Super Bowl. So I would think at this point, it doesn't sound likely that the Eagles will end up trading A.J. Brown. You just can't rule out the possibility that they get the kind of offer that blows them away.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is that Howie Roseman's usually in acquisition mode on the other end. He's usually a buyer. He's not necessarily a seller, especially a guy who still can play and is still considered one of the best wide receivers in the sport. I also go to the New England side of it. Last year, the Patriots had the most cap space in the league, and they spent more than any other team in free agency. I know that wasn't a big story during Super Bowl week. It was this great rise from Drake May. They actually bought a lot of players, and Mike Vrabel was asked about it today. He said, traditionally, if I want to go to Neiman Marcus or Nordstrom's, if I want something, I'll buy it, and I usually can, and that's the job of Elliott Wolf in the front office to make it work. This year, They don't have that same salary cap space. So even bringing in A.J. Brown for New England, it would take a lot of cap gymnastics, and it would certainly take a bounty of picks and other things to get him over from Philly. So I hate to dampen it. I hate to say no. I kind of have that reaction Booger did when we first started the segment, just kind of blank face, and we'll see.
Yeah, that kind of freaked me out as I started talking. I thought Booger was freezing and staring at me. Hey, Graz, what are you going to say? Yeah, look, I think on the Patriots end, they do need to continue to build out their roster around Drake May. And they tried to get a number one receiver last offseason. They end up with Stephon Diggs, who played very well for them, but probably doesn't necessarily fit that description at this point in his career. So I think they'll poke around. But to Peter's point, the assets it would take, not only bringing him in and paying him $29 million, but what it would take to get him. If you're the Patriots, do you really want to be thinking about using first and second round picks that way, as opposed to trying to find foundational pieces that are going to be with you for a long time as you build out what's obviously an extremely promising roster that was just in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and going back to your point, Graz, about the addition of Stephon Diggs, 1,000-yard receiver, that's awesome. He was the only wide receiver on the roster to get over 600 yards, and he does turn 33 in November. Not long in the tooth, but you would like some younger pieces there with a 23-year-old QB. Hey, time for one more thing before we go. Jim Harbaugh's mantra has found its way to his new OC, Mike McDaniel.
Firmly aware that nobody has it better than us. And I'm living that way every day.
Because it's often asked, who does?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, who? Everybody's wondering. And I'll tell you what, you look around. Look at us right now. Nobody.
Oh, nobody.
Nobody, Coach.
Yeah, nobody. And possibly future us has
Future
a better.
us. You're right.
With,
Nobody's got it better than the Bolts, still looking for their first playoff win since 2018. But, guys, it feels like the vibes are immaculate there in L.A., are they not, Trags?
Sure.
It's amazing because I spoke to sources during Super Bowl week there with the Chargers, and one of the great things, both these guys are authentically themselves. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of moments like that. There could be some really fun sound bites with Mike McDaniel and Jim Harbaugh.
Hey, NFL Live fully moves to Indy the next 2 days. Wall-to-wall coverage of the Combine. Laura Rutledge has touchdown in Naptown Thursday, Friday, starting at 4 Eastern right here on ESPN.